What's up everybody, Jason from Jason's Exotic Reptiles. Today we're going to talk about albinism and bug-eyed boa constrictors. We just had a litter of baby boas, posted the picture on Instagram, and my caption was something like, overall really happy with this litter. I had a couple bug-eyed boas. The pairing was motley head albino to albino, and kind of here's the litter. So people commented all over the picture of what is a bug-eyed boa, will these live, oh they're so cute, can I have one as a baby? In this video I want to talk about maybe what causes the bug eyes to occur in albino boa constrictors. I want to talk about their success and will they live, will they thrive, what will kind of the next couple weeks look like for me now that I've had these boas, and what you guys can do, or what I recommend if you guys get albino boas with bug eyes, and how to prevent it, if there even is a way to prevent it. So with that said, this video might be a little choppy where I'm going to have to show you, kind of turn the camera angle around. I'm going to show you some close-ups of the bug-eyed boas. I'm going to show you some older adults that had bug-eyed boas, so yes, they can live. And to a varying degree, and I want to go into the whole procedure. So without further ado, I'm going to flip this camera around and I want to show you what a bug-eyed boa is. Okay guys, so we're back here. We have some albino boas here. There's some really pretty snakes. It's kind of a shame that they have the bug eyes, but I'm going to try to show you guys what the bug eyes actually are. And this one's a good example. So these are bug eyes on a baby boa constrictor. They're essentially born and their eyes are protruding out of their head. Sometimes it'll only be one eye, like you can see with this girl here. This girl only has one eye, and I apologize, I'm trying to get this to the lighting not to wash everything out. But so she has one perfect eye here, and then one that's protruding out. And it's really kind of a shame because you see her color, she's beautiful. Really, really pretty snake. I have noticed that they do tend to be to a varying degree. So like this eye here, and let's see if I can again block this light out. This eye here, she may keep that eye for a little bit, but eventually that she's going to lose that eye. It's just what's going to happen. There's no way of saving that eye. You'll see people that will say ointment will help. Ointment doesn't help. It just makes everything a goopy mess. This girl will lose both eyes, and I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't make it. She may never take to eating and thrive. Eventually these eyes will just continue to get worse and continue to pop out of their head to the point where there's hanging by the socket. It's a pretty sad thing to see. So I try to kind of take that into consideration. This girl over here, you can see this one's a little bit further along, but these were just born a couple days ago, and the eyes are just eventually going to pop out and they'll lose them. Now, where this girl does have, let me see if I can get her back in view. This girl does have one bad eye, and I apologize, this is a little kind of gruesome to see here, but it's part of breeding albinos. And not all albinos will have this, but there were some really nice looking ones in the litter. But eventually she will lose that eye, and she will probably do perfectly fine. Where she has one good eye, it's usually when they have the two bad eyes. This girl here is likely not going to make it much longer. It's kind of a sad part about breeding, but it does happen. So this is what I wanted to show you. I do want to show you one other snake, and then we're going to flip it back around. We're going to talk about what causes this and how we can prevent it if possible. I lied. I want to show you more than just one other snake. This is the other half of the litter. And why I want to show you this, and not to give another plug, but this is that Cocoa Block substrate that I'm really loving. I wanted to show you that a lot of people will say this only occurs with albino to albino breeding. That's 100% not true. I can breed albino to albino and have zero issues at all, no problems. So I did want to show you that this is the other half of the litter, and it is only to the albino boas. You'll never see it, or I should say you'll rarely see it, at least in this form, in a non-albino snake. So I did want to show that this can occur in any boa. It doesn't have to be just an albino to albino pairing. It can be het to het or het to albino, which is what this pairing was. So I did get some nice looking ones in here. There's an albino motley there with no problems to the eyes. This is an albino here with no problems to her eyes. So there can be some really nice looking boas in the litter, and it's not something that occurs in all albinos. So I do, again, I'm going to flip this thing around one more time. I want to show you one other snake, an older animal, an actual moon glow that was born with a one eye kind of protruding out of its head. This is that other snake that I wanted to show you. This girl's a moon Glow Boa. She is, no, she doesn't live in this container. I just put her in here for the video. She's about 2017, so she's about 3 years old. And she was born with a bug eye. You can see she lost that one eye, and the other eye is perfect. So she's been thriving and doing very well. Sometimes you'll see to varying degree that these snakes will or will not do well in these situations, but this girl, she took right to feeding, and she's always been an amazing snake to me. I really like her, and I never intended to sell her. She's just kind of my pet and in here, so she's kind of here to stay for me. She's also likely a super hypo as well, but just wanted to show her off. I'm gonna flip this camera around, but man, look at that body condition. Look at the muscles in this girl. She's awesome looking. I'm going to flip this camera back around, and I want to tell you guys a little bit of what I think causes this in the albino boas and albinism in general. Okay, we're back. So I hope you guys saw a little bit of something and you're going to learn something from this video. I'm certainly learning every day about this stuff. I did switch up snakes here. This is the father that made those babies. So you can see he's about a 4-year-old male, and just an awesome size, awesome body condition. Which I will go into a whole new video just on body conditioning of snakes. I've done it in the past, but it seems like maybe I'm getting more questions than usual. I'm assuming that video is kind of a little bit further behind at this point, where it was done a few years ago. And I think it's time to re-up that video with some new examples, new snakes. Talk about the features that people aren't necessarily understanding at this point. So, totally different video topic, but I'll show you this guy off at the end, just so you can see him a little bit better. But albinism in boa constrictor, what causes the bug eyes? So in my opinion, from what I've seen, from what I've paired, it has nothing to do with albino to albino. I really believe that this is a kind of a recessive trait that is hidden within potentially all snakes. I almost see it as kind of like a Tourette's, or something of that nature. Not Tourette's in the simplest form, or in the form of Tourette's, but more in a simpler form of it's something that can be passed down genetically. And I do believe what makes it trigger is the albinism. So I personally, just through my experience of breeding, this is not based on science, it's just on what I've seen and what I've observed in albino to albino, het to het, het to albino pairings, different genes, motley to hypo, hypo to normal, all these different genes put together. I believe what it is that there is just something, again, completely unrelated to albino, that boas are carrying in this trait. Now, what happens is that when it gets coupled with albino, that's what's making it occur. That's what's making it worse, and what's making that actually triggering that genetic piece to kind of couple with albino and then really make it occur and happen more so. So it's kind of like dormant in other snakes. So let's say a hypo actually has a full set of this genetic, this recessive trait that causes the albino's eyes to pop out, but it's not getting triggered because it's not albino. So I really do feel that it has nothing to do with albino to albino, because I've bred albino to albino and have gotten absolutely perfect litters. Multiple times, it has nothing to do with that. I've bred het to het, and it happens. Now, I think that it maybe started with albino, and that's where this rumor happened, is that, or maybe it didn't start with albino, but people noticed it more with albinos, and they just triggered, okay, it must be because I'm breeding albino to albino. A lot of when we were early breeding albinos, there was a lot of inbreeding going on. So parents to siblings, or siblings together, and parents back to their kind of baby snakes. And I think that is why they got this notion and this recognition that if you're breeding het to albino or het to het, you have a further genetic spread. I think at this point, 20, 30, I don't know, I think 30, 40 years maybe now, 30 plus years that albinos have been bred. It's just kind of everywhere at this point. So anything that's ever been crossed with an albino has a potential of having this trait. Now, if we get some wild-caught animals in, and then we breed albinos to them, I think there is a chance to eventually breed this out, but I don't think it'll ever go away. It's just the gene pool now is so split and so spread. It's kind of like people. They say, you know, every person has a little bit of Jewish in them. That's not 100% true, but the majority of people have a little bit of Jewish in them. It's you know, those ancestry DNA things. So it's kind of interesting that even that tiny percentage can trigger this. You can have the traits for this. So I do think that that's where it maybe stems from, and it's not actually from the albino trait. That's purely my theory, but the only reason why I'm thinking that is because I've seen, I mean, all different snakes and all different combos have the same thing. And the only thing that I can consider, especially if you think that litter, just on genetics, there was about 18 or 19 babies in there, and 5 or 6 of them had this, it kind of sounds like both parents were potentially het for this trait. Or maybe both parents were, one parent was a full dominant version and the other one was het for it, which gave me about half the litter of the albinos that showed with this eye trait. So I don't think it's something that we can avoid unless we have a pairing. So let's say I did albino to albino, or I did het to het, or het to albino, and they never produce those bug-eyed babies. I would say that's probably a safe bet that these never will produce bug-eyed babies. But and that's kind of where I'm going, is that it is something that's inside the snakes already, and we just can't test for it. Now, I think it would be really interesting if we could do some type of a genetic testing and figure out, all right, what is actually different about this snake's DNA, you know, the ones with the bug eyes versus this one that doesn't have bug eyes. Is there something different? Or maybe it just truly is that the luck of the draw, and that's what happens. So I would like to see that. I don't think it'll ever happen, because in order for people to test this type of stuff, someone needs to pay for it. It's not cheap, and it's not going to be a cheap thing to do DNA testing on snakes, and highly doubt anybody is ever going to test for it. Everybody is ever going to be interested enough in paying the money to see the tests. So hopefully you guys learned a little something on this video. I'm not claiming to be an expert on this. I just got a lot of questions and I wanted to clarify it. I thought it would be a cool topic. I do apologize. It was kind of like gruesome at times, and I don't really like to show that stuff off, but that is the negatives of breeding, is that type of stuff happens. It does. Again, that was my only litter it happened to this year. I've had, I don't know how many litters, 15 so far. 10, 15, something like that. And that was the only litter it happened to. So it's just a really interesting thing that I hope we can all just continue to learn. If you guys know something about it that I don't, please drop a comment below. I'm always learning myself, and I continue to want to learn. So I learn from you guys as you comment. So please keep the comments coming. If you don't already, subscribe, support the channel. I appreciate it. And yeah, guys, let's keep it moving. Until next week, let's keep it going. Thanks, guys.